Hello, and welcome to a Volo's Monster episode of How to Play D&D, the explainer podcast where one experienced dungeon master and one failed scriptwriter discuss D&D topics. My name is Kinsey, and I'm proud to say my guest for the entirety of this series is none other than Abby from Tabletop Curiosities. Hello, Abby.
Hello.
Hello. Thank you for joining me on this lovely Sunday afternoon. This is our last episode, technically.
Yeah, it's the last proper one.
It is.
Yeah, we won't give spoilers for the next one, but the next one's a shenanigans. This is the last proper Volo's Monsters episode.
We've said in a couple of episodes through this that we'd be doing 20. This is episode 20, but we do have a couple more fun things to release in the next coming weeks to do with this. So I guess I'll swap over to you because once again, I'm upsetting the listeners by answering the questions.
Yeah, so this is one that Connor's picked this week. So what are we doing this week?
Vargouilles.
Let's get to it. So this week we are choosing Vargouille. Is that how we say it? Vargouille?
I think it's Vargouilles, but like Vargouille is like French. Vargouille.
Vargouille. Yes,
Vargouille.
I like it in the French. So these are your tiny fiend little friends, which are possibly one of the most horrific things. I've got not got any fun questions like Connor does because he sent me this one. I looked at the photo and just went, oh, that's horrific. So why have you chosen such a horrific little thing?
Well, I think from playing Strahd 4 years ago, I don't remember, well, from memory, I don't remember them being in it. And it seems a bit mad because if listeners are, if they've seen the thumbnail for the episode, they'll see that it's essentially like a vampire's head with wings attached on the side, and that's literally it. Now, and I think that's pretty obvious as kind of like a mini enemy to have in Strahd. It might have been in Ravenloft, but I've not read that book. So I thought this is a great episode. And also, you know, D&D people, whether it's podcast or playing, they love vampires, don't they? We love vampires.
Yeah.
You've got to have a vampire monster in there. Yeah,
you're totally right. Like Strahd is my absolute favorite. I know it in and out, have run it many times. And yeah, this really fits in that world because they've got like bat wings where the ears should be.
Yeah.
And it's like a spooky little face. Like, this is definitely a horror creature without a doubt.
It's weird because it looks silly. Like it should be silly. It's a head with wings, so that's going to be silly. I mean, there's a literal Pokemon that are that. Where they're like, it's a bat with just an eye, you know, like, but the artwork is so good for it that it actually completely removes if I describe it as silly, if you see it, you go, that's like Van Helsing shit. Like that's it. It looks good. It looks really good. They've like proper sold. The artist has gone hard on making this artwork for you to go, yeah, I'll take this serious.
Yeah. And you know, we've always talked about monsters of this kind where there's that blend of like, it actually is really horrific, but then we can kind of find some humor in it and have some silly as well. Hopefully once your party have sort of been scared, then they can start the silly.
100%.
So what kind of stats do we have to support the head bat that is the Vargouille?
Okay, so armor class 12, hit points 13, speed 5. So terrible, right? Terrible.
Oh.
The flight is 40, but the only thing I think the hit points make complete sense, and it's just the head. Like you know exactly where you need to aim for. Like it's not like you can miss it. But because it's small, I feel like they've really copped out on the armor class being tiny. We've talked about this on the past with big enemies. Their armor class is low because they're so big you can't miss them. With this, it's meant to be fast. It's 10 foot in flying speed, more than most people's regular walking speed in D&D.
Yeah.
So it made sense to me that the armor class would be very high based on just trying to actually like make contact with a hit. But they've not bothered with that. And I know that's actually not how the ruling works, sadly, for it. I will talk about briefly before we get into the actions that it has damage resistances to cold, lightning, immune to poison, and then the weirdest one, because immediately when you think vampires, you think a stake in the heart, and you think fire. And this is actually resistance to fire, which I think is mad.
I suppose it's got the fiendish element though, isn't it? Like they've classified it as a fiend, like in anatomy, I suppose
Yeah,
you'd
tiny
say.
fiend.
Yeah, so like that's quite a standard stat block for a fiend. That's the standard kind of
Right,
fiendish
okay.
things. But with them, if you wanted to put it in Strahd, I'd just say take that out. Just that these ones
Yeah.
don't have that. You could just mess with it, couldn't you?
Yeah, 'cause it doesn't feel like I don't know, like you would. They obviously they look like fiends. Everything about them is fiends, but like you don't in that setting that you imagine it would be in. It's like that's not usually the case. Do you know? It's almost like a one up. It's strange that the languages it knows any languages it knew before being becoming a Vargouille, which is obviously like you expect that from a vampire, but it can't speak. Even though bear in mind, like 90% of his body is a mouth.
Right.
Um, it understands abyssal and infernal out of nowhere. So that's
Yeah.
pretty good considering it can't speak. But then it goes on to it. So the challenge rating is one, as you can imagine. But then it has a bite. You can imagine that. But then it has two really good unexpected actions. Now it has
Mm.
kiss. The Vargul kisses one incapacitated humanoid within 5 feet of it, which we'll get to later because that's a great way of running this as a DM. The target must succeed on a 12 charisma save, sorry, or become cursed. The cursed target loses 1 point of charisma after each hour. As its head takes on the fiendish aspect, the curse doesn't advance while the target is in sunlight or the area of daylight spell. Don't count that time. When the cursed target's charisma becomes 2, it dies. So it is transforming you into, it doesn't say um, into a Vargrill, but some kind of fiend, and it is literally lowering your stats, which is insane.
That is crazy. As somebody who plays charisma casters, so bards or sorcerers, that is
Yeah,
like my worst nightmare. That
yeah,
is horrible. And the fact that it's a kiss as well is
yeah.
disgusting.
It's second really good action, and that's why I think these are brilliant. Maybe that's why the stats are so poor for it. That it's like, well, if we're gonna have these really
Mm.
cool things, we better make it crap. So, like, stunning shriek, the Vargul shrieks. Each humanoid and beast within 30 feet of it have to succeed on a DC 12 Wisdom save, or be frightened until the end of the Vargul's next turn. Um, typical kind of wisdom saves with being stunned or like a shriek. But if you add that within 30 feet and you're stunned and then it comes along, whatever it's kind of working with, which is what we'll get into and how you would run it, and then it gets this opportunity to kiss you, you could go into that encounter and just based on poor rolls never get to hit and then end up down and then end up having no charisma. So like it's a
Yeah.
pretty crap creature to be fighting if there's a group of them alongside something that can hit and take damage.
That is really, really dangerous, actually. For
Yeah,
yeah, a head with wings with such like low AC and HP, that is really, really dangerous because it's got the tools to do both. It
yeah,
can incapacitate you, and then it can do its horrible kiss thing.
yeah,
Sometimes it's rare that the creature kind of has the opportunity to deploy all of its tactics in one, whereas this
yeah,
one,
yeah.
it's almost like a perfect sequence of hell.
It doesn't ever.
Horrible.
It doesn't feel like you'd come across it on its own. Like it feels like there should be like 10 of these things because they're small. They don't look like much. You already know that they're 18 HPs though. As a DM, as a player, you won't. But you look at it and go, "That's probably a one hit kill." Like so,
Yeah.
it would make sense to have a lot of them, and it's like them being an annoyance is really important. But then them when you're down because they're annoying, then that's when they do the damage, and that's pretty crap as a
Yeah,
player.
them all shrieking and all like coming in for the kiss. No, that
Good
is
stuff.
horrid.
Good stuff. Yeah.
So, have you encountered one before? Have you used one in any of your games?
Do you know what? I've not used one. I was looking at this list to kind of like flesh out for the 20 creatures we thought were all kind of different to each other. And like I said earlier, like we love the whole vampire thing going on. Like it makes sense that we put one in there when I've not heard of this creature. Um, in a setting. And like I said, I've not read them all. Maybe it is there, but and I've not played any kind of vampire settings or one shots where someone's used it either. So it does feel very different, at least to me. But I think if I was going to use it, there would be some kind of it could be Strahd as an example, or BBG, but that people know. they know also how to play against Strahd. But then you
Mm,
bring these things out. So even if you've got him kind of pinned down and you're doing what you need to do against a creature like Strahd, these annoying creatures are doing nothing to you and die pretty quick. But with enough of them, if Strahd, for example, gets to incapacitate you, well, that's when these things get to go to town. So like you really then deciding as on your turn, do you hit Strahd and hopefully that kills him, or do you kill the creature and use your actions in the next turns to bring someone back so they're not losing the reason for
yeah.
playing. If you're a high charisma player like yourself and you don't have those stats, you're just a regular like 11 HP like peasant in town.
Yeah, with a loot.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like you really kind of don't want to meta game, but like you're really just staring at the other players, going, please pick me up, please just heal
Yeah.
me, like I beg you. Like it's way more
Can I
important than
persuade
dying.
the party to please get me up?
Yeah, like you would rather die than be alive without any stats. Do you know what I mean? So it's
100%.
it's quite fun. Like I said, I was really surprised that it's not in Curse of Strahd because it has so many kind of like fun tactical elements. It's not just I hit, you hit. That it makes complete sense that setting. I think people should definitely use the Vargouille in their
Yeah, I
games.
fully agree that this is one that you could slip into a Strahd-like setting 100%.
Mm,
Especially because he is the ancient, he is the land, so he would unleash these things, and maybe the faces are of the old villagers that you saw a few
100%.
episodes ago, and he's now taken over them and given them this creepy, creepy existence.
It's definitely like a proper folklore enemy. I know we said that on like way earlier episodes of this season, but it feels like something people talk about when you're in the town that they've seen. And I know you're playing D&D, but you're hopefully good in RP that you play it in character. Like you've not come across them. You're not going, oh well, we're in D&D, so obviously there'll be that creature. You want it to be like, oh well, there's only talks. Like no one's actually seen one, but something's turning up with kind of like bites and it's died or it
Yeah.
survived, but couldn't tell if it was like a wolf or a fox or that kind of thing we talked about in earlier episodes of like it's got to be a creature, it's got to be like a woodland creature. It can't be a head with wings. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's so
especially in
good.
Strahd, you'd think, oh, it's wolves or it's
Yeah,
bats, and then what's
yeah, just a
that?
little bit more, just a little bit more. Yeah,
Oh, I love that. So have we got any quotes from Volo's guide on this guy?
we have. And do you know what? I think from memory, of the other ones that we've done, I genuinely think this might be one of the best.
Okay.
I do. Because it's from Elminster once again, throwing down his deep wizard knowledge there. But he says, and I'll try and read it like him. Until ye've seen a kin's head tear off his shoulders and flap aloft amid fountaining blood, only to turn and lap his own dying gore as his body totters and falls, ye haven't lived. And if ye want to go on living, ye might want to stop watching in favour of fleeing. So it's a pretty sick quote. Like it literally feels like I'm watching a kind of like, like the Headless Horseman, that kind of thing. Like it's a
Yeah.
proper old English kind of written. None of the others have been like that at all, even though the settings make sense. So it's pretty good, and it does really summarize like how descriptive you could be with something that's from us talking about it seems silly. Seeing it, you go, what he just said makes complete sense. Like it's so
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, that is brilliant.
Yeah.
All
Definitely
right.
hot.
Well, today's adventure has sadly come to a close. I'm going to let Connor do the full outro.
Okay. Coward. Absolute
Yeah,
coward.
bottled it. Bottled
All
it.
right. Today's adventure is sadly coming to a close, but we're back again next week with the topic, were the Trojans really into polo? And as always, thank you for tuning in. And if you'd like to join the D&D action, then please follow us on Instagram, HowToPlayD&D, or check out the link in our bio to join our Discord server. And also check out Black Mark Clow on Instagram for cool D&D clothing. Now, there's one other thing that's very cool in D&D, and that's dice. Abby, where can we find you, and what do you do?
So I make custom dice, dice of all kinds of shapes and sizes, and you can find me at Tabletop Curiosities.
Thank you very much. I've been Connor Kinsey.
I've been Abby.
Good day.